It all started with something impossible. Late at night, a woman woke up to use the bathroom and noticed something deeply unsettling. At 3 a.m., the sky outside was glowing as bright as daylight. Confused and unable to believe what she was seeing, she rushed to the window and pulled open the blinds. But the moment she looked outside, she froze. In the distant sky, a dazzling light was spreading, shimmering like something unreal. And then suddenly, a blinding flash exploded across the horizon. The light was so intense, she couldn't even keep her eyes open. Now, under normal circumstances, this would terrify anyone. But she lived in Iceland, a place known for strange and beautiful light phenomena. So instead of panicking, she simply brushed it off and went back to sleep. But the next morning, everything changed. Her boyfriend arrived and knocked on her door. The two of them decided to grab breakfast, but when they entered the hotel restaurant, something felt off. No staff, no movement, no sound. Assuming people were just late to start their day, they put on their coats and stepped outside. And that's when things got truly disturbing. The entire city was silent. Not just quiet, but dead silent. No people, no cars, not even animals. It was as if everyone had vanished. Confused, they tried to make sense of it. It was already late in the morning, so where was everyone? Maybe a festival? Maybe the whole city had gathered somewhere? Trying to find answers, they walked to the busiest square in town. But it was completely empty. They shouted, "Hello?" over and over again. For nearly 30 minutes, no response. At this point, panic started to creep in. Even if there was an event, there should have been signs, posters, something. So they began searching. They checked supermarkets, small alleys, knocked on doors. They searched half the city, and still not a single person. It was like humanity had simply disappeared. They entered a nearby bar. Everything inside was perfectly arranged, chairs neatly placed, glasses untouched. It looked like the place had closed the night before, and no one had returned since. That's when fear truly took over. The woman began to break down. Trying to stay rational, Nick turned on the TV. If something this big happened, the news must be covering it. But when the screen turned on, it was nothing but static. No signal, no broadcast, nothing. Now completely shaken, they left the bar. Nick tried to make sense of it. If it was a disease, where are the bodies? If it was aliens, where are the ships? Nothing made sense. With no answers, they returned to the hotel. Nick searched online, but the internet was frozen, stuck on yesterday. The woman tried calling her mother in the US. No answer. Messages to friends, family, nothing came back. It was like the entire world had gone silent. Desperate, Nick came up with a plan. They would go to the highest point in the city and look for any signs of life. But on their way, they found something strange. A car sitting in the middle of the road, engines still running, windows open, but the driver gone. So they got in and drove.
They sped across the empty roads, but when they reached the wealthy district at the top, it was the same, completely empty. Where did everyone go? Exhausted and overwhelmed, they returned to the hotel. The woman started to believe this was all just a nightmare. Maybe if we sleep, everything will go back to normal. But the next morning, nothing changed. The world was still dead silent. The internet was gone. The phones were useless. She just wanted to go home, but Nick had no answers. So they did the only thing they could. They went to a supermarket. Shelves were fully stocked, food everywhere, so they took everything they needed. No money, no rules anymore. They filled carts, loaded cars, even took a brand new SUV from a dealership. With no one left to stop them, the world had become theirs. They moved into a luxury mansion, wore expensive clothes, drank the finest alcohol. For a moment, it felt like freedom, like they owned everything. But freedom didn't last. One day, while playing around in a supermarket, Nick slipped and crashed hard to the ground. He injured his arm badly. The woman got angry. "What if something happens to you? There are no doctors anymore." But Nick didn't take it seriously. "It's just fun." That argument turned into a fight. Later, he apologized, but something inside her had already changed. She was losing hope. She didn't want this life anymore. Nick, on the other hand, believed they could survive, build something new together. But she was done. They even went to the airport, hoping to escape, but with no staff, no pilots, there was no way out. Soon, things got worse. One day, the water stopped running. No water. Food slowly running out. Reality finally hit. They couldn't survive like this forever, so they searched again, this time further away. They found a crashed airplane abandoned for years. No hope there either. But then, in a remote area, they found someone. An old man, alive, weak, barely standing. They gave him water, helped him inside. He told them everything. After that strange night, he couldn't find anyone either. He returned home, but his family was gone too. He had run out of supplies and was waiting to die. Nick convinced him to keep going. "You're not alone anymore." The old man agreed. For the first time, there was hope. But the next morning, he was dead. Just like that, gone. They buried him in the backyard, but the woman couldn't understand. What's the point of all this anymore? Still, she refused to give up. She searched the entire city, marking every empty house for a week, but found no one. Months passed. Loneliness took over. One day, she looked at old photos and broke down. She missed her family. She couldn't take it anymore. The next day, she was gone. Nick found a photo she left behind. As he flipped through it, he realized something terrifying. Her smile slowly faded in every picture. He rushed out searching for her, everywhere, until he remembered the hot spring they used to visit. He drove there immediately, and what he saw, it was already too late. She was floating in the water, gone. Nick pulled her out, but she was no longer alive. Now he was completely alone. He thought about ending it all, walking into the water, ready to follow her. But at the last moment, he stopped. Instead, he laid her body on the grass, letting her become one with nature. And even though the pain was unbearable, he made a choice: to live. Even if the entire world had abandoned him, he would keep going. Because as long as you're alive, you still have a chance to fight fate.